Hi everyone, this is Luke from PaintballerX.com. Today I want to go over how to install our anti-siphon tube to your existing paintball CO2 tank. The benefits of having an anti-siphon on your CO2 tank is it is going to help reduce the chance of liquid CO2 getting into your paintball gun. The benefits of this are it keeps your velocity more constant or consistent to help with your accuracy while you're shooting. Plus, it cuts down on wear and tear on the actual paintball gun. If you've ever shot a spider or a piranha or another blowback style gun, and you get too much liquid CO2 into your gun, you'll notice that the bolt and the hammer will freeze up on the gun and it won't fire anymore until the O-ring has thawed back out. And this is one way of reducing it. The first thing that you have to do is choose what gun you plan on using this tank on, because it has to stay, or it has to only be used on the gun, on that gun specifically from that point on. Just because it is fitted specifically to that gun that you plan on using it. In this case, I have it on a 68 Auto Mag. This is just a 12-ounce tank. But what you'll want to do is you'll want to screw the tank fully onto the gun. I do recommend doing this step, pretty much the whole step of installing this. Once you choose what gun and what tank you want to use, make sure to fully empty your CO2 tank by taking and releasing the burst disc. Take the burst disc right off and let it fully drain out the liquid CO2 and all the CO2 out of your tank, and leave it off until the frost of the tank is completely gone, and that the tank itself is at room temperature. Then once you've done that, then you can screw the burst disc back on. Or you don't have to. It all depends on you. Next, once the tank is fully seated on the gun, take a Sharpie marker, like this one right here. Find the very top of the valve that's going to line up with the beaver tail or the back end and the top of the paintball marker. In this case, it is going to be right here. So what you'll want to do is take a Sharpie marker and mark on the tank or on the valve itself where the up is on that valve. Once you've done that, you can take your gun and your tank and remove the valve. Okay, now that we have the actual tank valve broken loose, what we'll do now is we'll just fully unscrew this tank valve from the tank. While you're doing this, you're going to want to make sure that the threads on the valve itself are nice and cleaned off, because you will also be resealing this valve. Make sure that this O-ring on the valve is good, not broken, not torn, not smashed, nothing else. Then what you're going to do is, once this valve is off of the tank, then you're going to take an Allen wrench. You may have to make sure that you find one that properly fits this fitting back here. But what you'll do is you'll unscrew this fitting off. There will be a spring right here. You want to make sure that that spring stays in there, because that spring is what actually holds your pin valve and seals the tank. Next, you're going to take your anti-siphon. Some people like to put Teflon tape or a sealer on this fitting right here. I prefer not to, just because I don't want anything to get stuck in the valve itself and cause damage to the valve. But what you're going to do is you're going to tighten that on. It will take an 11 millimeter wrench to tighten this up. You're going to get it all the way tightened up on the valve. Now notice our mark is still right there. That shows where up is. And what you're going to do is from there you are going to bend this actual copper tube up. Now you don't have to bend it up too high, just enough where you are pretty sure that it is going to be above a liquid level when you are holding the tank onto the gun. So right now I will check to make sure that it's angled up, if you can see that. Then what you are going to do is you are going to take some red Loctite or red thread lock. Make sure that you get the red stuff, because the blue stuff will still allow the valve to break free. And just put, usually I recommend just putting 1 drop on the threads, and that should do the job of what you need it to. Install the valve with the anti-siphon back into the tank. Screw the tank back onto the valve, or the valve back onto the tank, whichever you prefer to call it. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take a crescent wrench and fully tighten this valve onto here. You want it as tight as possible. Once it's as tight as possible, then you are going to set this aside and let it set for 24 hours before filling it back up with CO2. That allows the lock thread or the thread locker to fully harden and seal your valve. Once that's all done, you're all set. All you have to do is go take the tank in, fill it up, and go play paintball. Hope that helps. Thank you, everyone.